What's going on? My name is Michael and welcome to Fudge Muppet. Today we fly back into the Starfield to discover 7 more things I wish I knew about much sooner. Here at Fudge Muppet we've had Starfield since the reviewer early access period, and if you combine our playtime, then Scott and I have played over 500 hours now. I didn't know about many of the things in this video until I had personally played 100 hours, some I discovered at 150 hours or figured out after the 200-hour mark. They'll range from general tips and gameplay mechanics that aren't made obvious to the player at all, to some advice of how to approach certain things to have the best experience possible. The first thing I wish I knew is that stealth is affected by equipped weight only. The easiest way to test this is actually using a friendly NPC who just stays in a chair and doesn't move around. You have weight added by your boost pack, helmet, spacesuit, and very importantly, which a lot of people miss, your weapon. So if you carry a micro gun during stealth, you'll be way easier to detect. If your spacesuit weighs 20 instead of a lighter 7.5 or 8, then you'll also be easier to detect. And if the environment doesn't require you to wear a spacesuit, taking off all your equipped items completely will make you the stealthiest possible. Also watch for that toggle setting in your menu for cities, as you may have your spacesuit on but not realize it. I actually made a huge guide to stealth which you can find on the channel explaining this, but even since then I've heard people say that total inventory weight also affects stealth. However, from testing this does not seem to be the case. I've purposefully carried thousands of resources to make my inventory weight above 4,000 and my character over encumbered, obviously, and it didn't increase my detection rate in the test at all. I think that because enemies can be unpredictably perceptive at times, it can seem like you go through a location using a certain method and have a better time, and then you think it's because of something you did, like lightening your inventory, but again, total inventory weight does not seem to make you easier to detect, only equipped weight. Also, once you get rank 2 of concealment, which removes your movement speed detection penalty while sneaking, it seems like you can wear whatever you want without the weight mattering. For more on stealth, including how cooked melee stealth is to attempt, then check out my guide in the description. The next thing I wish I knew much earlier is that ship parts, the ones that you buy, are actually level locked, and I'm not talking about the skills you need like starship design or piloting. I'm talking about ship vendors full on not selling certain ship parts with certain stats yet until you're a high enough level to be deemed worthy. I don't have time to confirm every single ship part and what level each one becomes available at, but I can say that there's always new stuff becoming available. I was sometimes confused figuring out which vendors sell which stuff, because it does differ of course, but then I'd be playing a different character and go to a vendor who I'm so sure sells something but it wasn't there. Well, it was my other character's level to blame. For example, at Tayo Astroneering, you can get the Shogun cockpit at level 16, but then you won't be able to buy the Shogun enhanced cockpit until level 22. New parts were even added for me after reaching levels as high as 60. For example, at level 52 I could get the 44T Defender shield generator by Dogstar, but then at level 60 I could get their 104D Guardian shield generator. There's a huge list of examples like this, all at different level ranges, so just keep it in mind to always be looking around for better parts as you level up if shipbuilding is important for your build. The third thing on our list of things I wish I knew is that there's so many more locations than I thought existed in the game, which I only found through exploring more places without tying any of this exploration to side quests or mission board tasks. In previous videos, I've said that a good thing to do if you want to explore but don't care where is to combine it with some of the cooler Radiant missions in the game that fit your role-playing in order to do the same exploration you're going to do anyway, but get more XP and credits in the process. I'd still recommend this for those who have not dedicated a large amount of hours to exploring. However, there's far more location types to be found than I thought, and some appear to be super rare, almost as if they should be mission related. However, I can't seem to source any mission for them. For example, one really cool location is this abandoned mining platform. For me, it was located on Hagens 4, however, I've seen people saying they found this location on other planets that have snowy biomes. It's become a full-on horror story when you arrive, with these unique alien monsters all over the place. It was a crazy location to come across and explore, trying to find the answers behind what happened here and caused all of this tragedy. Stuff like this really makes Starfield feel special. I will say, it does feel like many of the Radiant quests that send you to kill various criminals like pirates or spacers send you to similar location types, particularly on moons. As I've recommended, that stuff is the most fun when you balance it with faction content and side quests and some main story content all along your playthrough. But again, you'll tend to come across the same sorts of places while doing so if you do it for a very long time. At least I do. But when I just go off on my own looking at the dot icons on planets and having a look at what they are, I've found all kinds of places I haven't heard of yet, like cool industrial outposts and farms, and just locations that I thought I'd been to but I haven't. So one thing here to keep an eye out for are slight variations on names, like abandoned versus deserted. It may sound the same, but it'll actually be different. Another really cool place which seems to be set on one planet is the Neurodyne Botany Laboratory on Beta Marai 1. There's this huge compound here filled with cool plants and aliens with a very interesting interior, with an area to search through on the roof and aliens all outside as well. Ecliptic Mercs even showed up when I went out to go on the roof after exploring the interior. It feels like this should belong to a quest that sends you here, so let me know if you found it, but I just haven't and couldn't find it when I searched online. In summary, make sure you explore a lot on your own as well, and don't expect Radiant missions, side quests, or the main story to do a good enough job of taking you to all of the most interesting places in the game. The next thing I wish I knew much earlier was that the rewards you get from picking locks do not correlate to the level of the lock itself. After hundreds of hours with this skill maxed out, I can say that investing so much here was not worth it for my character specifically, and isn't worth it for many other build types in the game. So if you invest 3 points into the security skill to reach master level locks, thinking that you're going to find way better loot in a master lock than in an expert or advanced lock, I'm here to tell you that that isn't the case. Obviously, security can be used for other things like hacking computers and opening doors to get you into rooms that are otherwise inaccessible, or onto a landed ship that you found on a planet, or through a stealthier pathway with less enemies that could detect you, and this is all really cool for the right character build, so I recommend it if you want to do that. But as I've said in a previous video that goes into great detail on the security skill, unless you're playing a character who wants those benefits, then do not pick security solely for loot purposes. You'll be able to find more amounts of cool items faster to keep or sell with a general loot and shoot approach, and be able to put those skill points you would have put into security into other things that are more impactful for your build and make the feel of your playthrough more unique earlier on. The next thing I wish I knew earlier was that to truly make the fastest ship at max speed, you'll want to have a crew member with 2 or more ranks of the piloting skill, such as Sam Coe. Sam Coe has 4 ranks of the piloting skill, but this doesn't mean having him allows you to fly C-class ships. You'll need 4 ranks yourself to do that, as you're sitting in the pilot seat after all. However, Sam Coe will actually increase both your standard speed and, in my testing, your max boosted speed by 30%. So in the video with this ship here, you can see the base speed is 129 and the max boost speed I get up to is something like 449. Well, with Sam Coe in the ship, the base speed gets boosted by 30% up to 168, and the max boost goes up a bit above the 580 mark. What's interesting is that this happens with Amelia, who I won't spoil how to get, but she's a crew member with only 2 ranks of piloting. So if you want to be much faster in space, then use a crew member with the piloting skill. The good thing about Sam Coe is that because his piloting skill is so high, you actually get another power slot allocated. You'll notice one of the bars in my engines turns green, which comes by having Sam Coe allocated to crew, meaning that I can have a spare bit of power left over to slot into something else like shields. Another companion you can get in the bar on the upper level of Sidonia, named Andromeda Kepler, just has 1 rank of piloting, and her speed boost seems to only be about 15%. You also can't stack piloting crew like Amelia with Sam Coe to go above the 30% boost. Anyway, it would appear for the fastest speed you'll want a crew member with piloting rank 2 or above, the White Dwarf 3015 engines, which need Starship Design 4, and the engine systems skill from the tech tree rank 3 specifically, which boosts your top speed by 20%. Bear in mind that if you want the best top speed experience, you'll probably want to make sure your mobility is high as well. If you want any more details on exactly how to build such a fast and agile ship, then watch our fastest ship guide on the channel. I'll link it in the description too. Thing number 6 on this list of things I wish I knew much sooner is that these ship crew skill effects in general are a bit confusing, or at least they're not what I thought they were at first. For starters, they don't seem to stack, at least not in a way that I've noticed. They can stack with your skill, but they don't seem to stack with each other. Perhaps some skills do, but from my testing, they haven't. So if you get a bunch of crew who all have shield systems, for example, that doesn't combine to make your shield additionally more powerful with each person. On top of that, these skills and their ranks don't necessarily do the same thing or apply the same magnitude that your own skill ranks named the same thing would, as we talked about in the previous point with crew who have the piloting skill adding speed. Weapons system skills from crew don't even really seem to add damage to your ship, as far as I can tell. It doesn't show in the stats screen, so if it turns out they do, it's so negligible that I couldn't notice. But what I can confirm is that they do change recharge times. So Barrett has 3 ranks of particle beam weapons systems, and with just 1 slot of power allocated to my particle beam weapon, it took roughly 53 to 54 seconds to recharge instead of about 60 seconds without Barrett. So some ship crew skill effects that you don't expect are cool, like having piloting increase speed. However, others, like the weapon recharge, are a bit disappointing, especially considering that when you use your weapons, you tend to allocate lots of power to them. So a 10% recharge speed increase when power is maxed on this weapon isn't a huge deal. My particle beam weapon here recharging in 5.4 seconds instead of 6 seconds doesn't really move the needle for me. 10% for 3 ranks isn't that crash hot either when you think about it. Another example similar to the speed situation can be found with shields. So if you get Omari on Aquila in the outdoor bar area, who has 3 ranks of shield systems, he will confer just the same 20% bonus to shield that Vasco provides, with Vasco only having 2 ranks. However, Omari with 3 ranks will provide one of those green slots to shields, saving you a slot to use for something else. However, because Vasco comes with a neutronic fusion, he provides you with a free power slot anyway, so you may as well just use him without paying credits to hire someone else. If you use a crew member with 1 rank of shield systems, like Ezekiel for example, then your shields are only boosted by 10%. Although I still do wish that the boost was higher with each rank, with rank 3 giving more shields than rank 2. One other cool thing that you might want to know is that Sarah Morgan's leadership skill seems to cancel out her filling a crew slot, so it appears that you can always just add her to your crew without worry of exceeding the crew limit. Anyway, I wish I knew some of these things earlier. Knowing what I do know now, I would think that the ship command skill is probably a bit of an overrated option outside of roleplaying and getting some fun Admiral character vibes, considering that anyone can just get a lot of benefit from simply having Sarah Morgan to reduce fuel cost, Vasco to increase shield capacity and get an extra power slot, Samco to get faster speed, an extra point added for free to your engine's power, and also more cargo capacity via his payload skill, plus any extra you'd like because Sarah Morgan counts for free. Whatever ship command skill benefit you'd get by adding crew beyond that would not be as good as using all the skill points you'd need to get up to ship command and then max it out to instead just boost your own ship skills in the tech tree to increase things like damage or shields and so on. However, it is a vibe having a ship full of people. Look, I love Starfield, but there are some systems that were not explained well to players at all, or simply don't do what you'd expect they do based on the way it's presented. We should probably make an entire video talking about ship crew skills in more detail. And the final thing I wish I knew much earlier might surprise you, because I have a feeling many people would have found it much earlier than I did. So I played with a gangster background in my first playthrough, and I found so many side quests, especially on Neon, that aligned with the vibe of my character. Well, turns out that while I was doing every other quest in the game, I completely missed the neat little chain of quests available at Galbank in New Atlantis. You can find it by going here from the commercial district. When you go there and talk to Landry Hallerfeld at the counter, he'll be eager for some help. There are delinquents who haven't paid off their debt, and you help him in making sure they fulfill their obligations. He doesn't want you to use violence, but he knows that sometimes you can't avoid it. While the story of the quest chain is nothing too crazy, being a debt collector would fit in with the roleplaying of many builds, and the rewards are decent early on. The first quest is pretty easy and can be resolved with persuasion, and you'll get 3,500 credits for doing that, which at a low level isn't bad. However, the second quest involves some ship combat, and the location you're sent to is random, and it will change the level of the ships you fight, so make sure you save of your game first. For example, I was sent to Porima on a level 6 character and had to fight level 30 ships, which blew apart the frontier really fast, whereas another time I was sent to a level 5 system that had level 4 ships, which were easy to defeat. 2 quests follow after that second one, with the final one offering you a uniquely named gun called Solace, given to you if you choose to pay off the debt. Its base model is an Urban Eagle, and while it's not a rare, epic, or legendary weapon, the pistol does come with plenty of mods and might very well end up being your favorite early game pistol. It can fight enemies far above your level in the early game when you have no combat skill investment. Anyway, I personally wish I found this role-playing opportunity for my character before playing more than 100 hours in the game. But I guess that's the fun of it. We're all finding different things at different stages. Subscribe for more Starfield content like this. We've got all sorts of things coming, including comprehensive guides, character builds like our bounty hunter build, skill discussions about what's worth it and what isn't for various builds, and of course plenty of cool ship builds on the way. Like the video if you learned something new, and remember to check out our other videos I mentioned in the description. My name is Michael, thanks for watching Fudge Muppet, and I'm going back to play more Starfield.